Um,
All right, James, I'm letting them in now.
okay, thank you, Andy. Yes, hello, welcome all. Hang on, just arranging my gallery properly.
Hello.
So, Maria Elena, Lucy, welcome. Mandira, yeah, lovely to see you again. Shri Nimala back in Palden, Madeleine, yes, and Taich, very good. Chris and Roger, good, welcome all.
James, I need to leave a little bit early, so I'll just slip away shortly before the end, if that's all right.
That will be our loss, Palden, but I will not keep you. Are you on the barge still? Have you got new curtains there?
I think I normally sit the other way around facing my table, and I'm sort of
Right, okay.
sideways on the bunk at the minute.
Right. Dominique, welcome. Right, so last time we were on the Bhagavad Gita. I'm just going to share screen with you. Bear with me a moment. Be right with you. Okay, so you should all see the iPad. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, very good. So I'll call up now the Bhagavad Gita, where sorry, not the Bodhicharyavatara, rather. Okay. 15 and 16. Oops. So what we're scheduled to do today is just a recap of 15 and 16. Before we move on, were there any particular queries or comments that you had from last time? So, and another thing, was there anybody who didn't get a chance to recite or to chant it last time and would like to do so now? Entirely voluntary.
Okay, may I try?
Madeleine, welcome.
Yes.
Please
Yes.
come in. Please come in, Madeleine.
Thank you. Udam shadam sha samas shakshut pipasa divedanam mahat kanvadi dukham cha kimanartam na pashyasi.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
These actually, there's a lot of words strung together, but the grammar of the sentence is in fact very simple. The whole of the first line, Udangsha Dangsha Mashka Krutpipasadi Vedanam, is treated as one compound noun, all in the accusative. The Vedana is feminine noun, Vedanam, the accusative, the Dvitiya Vibhakti. So Kimanartam napashyasi, kim napashyasi. This kim is, it normally, it means what. The primary meaning is what. but the secondary meaning is why. And so it can mean, so just have to know by context. So the kim in modern Hindi, for example, I'm always open to correction from Mandira, please, but kim in modern in Hindi then becomes either kya, meaning what, or kyon, meaning why. So it has both meanings in Sanskrit. And here you can just tell by context. It has to mean what. Kim anartham napashyasi. Why do you not see as insignificant or trivial? Why can you not see that those two things are trivial? One, the vedana, the feeling of damsha mashka krutpipasadi, gnats and mosquitoes and flies, hunger, thirst, and so on, all of those feelings, all of that vedana, and matkanradi dukkam, the dukkha, the unpleasantness of a mighty itch. If you had this phrase on its own, if you just were presented with that phrase, kimanartam napashyasi, that could be interpreted in one of two ways. It could be interpreted as, so I put the cha in there, just kim anartam napashyasi. Looked at on its own, that could have a meaning as a complete sentence. And that would mean what? What disadvantage can you not see? Or what disadvantage do you not see? So there's the ambiguity in grammar and also the ambiguity in the word anartha. So artha can mean several things, including your destination, your goal, your objective. It comes from the root ri, meaning to go. So the artha, excuse me, sir. I'm teaching, Andreas. I'll call back. Sorry about that. From the root ri, meaning to go, the artha means the place of going, where you are going to, ri artha. So when you look at this word artha, it means basically where you're going, and therefore it can mean a destination, your purpose, your objective, where you're aiming for. Artha also means the meaning, as in the meaning of a word. For example, shabdartha would mean a glossary, or the shabda artha, the word meaning. Something gives you the meaning. Because a word, what is the meaning of a word? It's what the word is getting at, what the objective of that word is. Madeleine, in Arabic as well, you can talk about the maqsood, that which is intended. You can talk about the maqsood of a word.
Yes.
What's it getting at?
Yes, yes.
ماذا يقصد? What is it aiming for?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, thank you, Madeleine. Glad to be upheld there. So we have this the same meaning then in Sanskrit and in Arabic. The artha, the maqsood, means what the word is aiming at, which in English, what is the meaning of the word? But now, artha can all wealth. Why? Because wealth, prosperity is what the human mind aims for, the unenlightened human mind aims for. For example, the Sanskrit for economics as a subject of studies, economics is arthashastra, which literally means the teaching of the science of wealth, from the root shas, to teach. So arthashastra. In fact, same word in modern Hindi, don't you, Mandara, to use to mean economics as a sub.
Yeah, we use Arthashastra for economics in Hindi.
Okay, right. Good. Okay, yeah. So, and so that literally means, so so we have the Arthashastra, which I forget when it was, an ancient work in Sanskrit. Ministers had written this word on the government and money and economics. So, and as we've now heard from Mandira in modern Hindi, we're using the same, literally, the teaching on wealth, or the science of wealth. And if something is anartha, it can mean either positively bad, positively detrimental. And in Buddhist literature, you'll often see anatta, meaning something that is positively disadvantageous. So it can have that meaning. But here in this context, anartha just means without meaning, without significance, something trivial, something not to be bothered about. So remember, this artha, Pali atta, is a word with, has come to mean multiple meanings, but all traceable back to the same core meaning what something is aiming at. So, kim anartham napashyasi, in the context of this sentence, is kim napashyasi, why or how do you not see all of the foregoing things, all of the foregoing line and a half, as anartham, insignificant, nothing to bother about. As I said, taken separately and in isolation, that could mean, what disadvantage do you not see? So the context would tell you which it is. And then going on to the next of the second of the two that we did last time. Again, as in the previous verse, the first line of this verse is one long compound noun. Consisting of Shita, Ushna, Vrishti, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nouns. You could decline each one separately and have cha between each one, and it would have exactly the same meaning. Where you put several nouns together in a compound, the last of them, with a few exceptions which deal with here, but almost invariably the last of them, only the last of them is declined, and the last of them has to be plural. Because if the entire compound relates to multiple things, 3 and more, then the sign of plurality, the plural ending, goes on to the last one of them, even though there might be only one. So by all of these things, or as a result of all of these things, the a is the instrumental plural ending. So by reason of the cold, heat, rain, wind, the road, the adverse, so that means here the fatigue of travel, vyadhi, bandhana, being bound, prison. So as a result of all these things, even with all of these things, saukumaryam nakartavyam, delicacy is not to be done. Literally, don't be squeamish, don't be delicate about it. Anyata vardhate vyata. Anyata, otherwise, vyata, distress, vardhate, increases. A couple of you were present at the Pali class a little bit earlier, And here we see that Vardhate that we were discussing increases. That's the one that is in Pali, Vardhati, and past participle Buddha. That's the one that Vardhate, past participle Vriddha, Pali Buddha, in modern Hindi, Buddha. So Buddha meaning old, and our English word, and it is cognate with our English word vard, growth, vard, the word often flip in history. So in fact, our English word growth and the modern Hindi word Buddha actually both come from a common origin, this vrid root, meaning growing. So again, anyone who didn't have a chance to recite or chant this last time, this verse would like to do so now, please come in.
I'm not offering to chant necessarily, James, but I just the thing about the Saukumaria made me laugh, because when my husband's being particularly pernickety about something, I tell him to stop being such a princess. And it means exactly the same thing in exactly the same tone of voice.
It does mean exactly the same thing. You're spot on. I mean, you can even quote it to him in Sanskrit next time. Here it is for you, Palden. Saukumaryan nakartavyam. Or you can just say, hey, Sukumara. Oh, you poor Sukumara. Kind of little diddums, you little princess or princeling.
I'm sure that will be twice as irritating if I do it in Sanskrit, so I might just do that.
That was the intention, surely, wasn't it? Yeah. And with the right tone of voice and perfect pronunciation, even 3 times as irritating. Actually, no, why am I sitting here encouraging women to irritate their husbands? I don't do it. Don't dare to do it. It's horrible. Poor husband. Okay, as a punishment, Paladin, you can jolly well chant that now.
Yes, I had a feeling I just walked into that. I don't know if I can chant it. I'll try and say it.
It's nice when my students get to know my more sadistic aspect.
Well, like you, my husband was raised a Catholic, so I'm
okay, yes, yeah, we bear a heavy burden.
Yes, and this, liking of penance. Okay. Shitoshna vrishti vata vavya.
Vatadva. It's vatadva.
Vatadva vyati bandhanatadai. Saukumaryam nakatavyam. Anyata vardate vyata.
Okay, very nice, Paladin. At the risk of going back on my retraction, can you just say Saukumaryam nakartavyam in a slightly kind of irritating, sarcastic kind of way?
Saukumaryam nakatavyam.
Okay, you refine it as you go along. By this, vatadva is vata and adva, and the va, the root va means to blow, as in the wind blowing. I think I've explained it's and the verbal noun from va is vana, and it comes into Latin as ventus, meaning wind, into modern French le vent. In modern French it was written V-E-N-T, and come through into English as ventilation and so on. And through the Germanic stream, it's come into modern English as wind. So the vana, ventus, wind are all from that same root. So that's the vana. And with the prefix nir, meaning out, you get nirvana, which actually originally was just was the word for literally blowing out, as in blowing out the flame of a candle, for example. You talked about the nirvana of a candle. It was only by later usage that it came to have the meaning nirvana that we know. Of course, in Pali, nibbana, the rv in Sanskrit usually becomes a double V in Pali, so nirvana, nibbana. But it's from that very simple meaning, blowing out. And here we have it, the vata, that which is blown. So the verbal noun is vana, blowing. Vata, the past participle, literally that which is blown, the blown, therefore coming to mean wind. And there's an interesting parallel here. This word adva, adha in Pali, means a road, but it's often used with the sense of something difficult and arduous, not just a physical road, but the idea of travel being arduous. And it's no accident that our English word travel actually originates in the French word travail. Now, travail actually means work. So in other words, our word travel, we just think of it as a very ordinary thing now, but it originated in the idea of the pains and difficulties of going along the road. So our English word is travel, as I say, echoes the idea it was hard work. And we have that same here in Sanskrit. Incidentally, this word for sickness, did I explain it down here? I did, yes. Yeah. So vyadhi is like almost the opposite, well, not almost, is the opposite, linguistically the opposite of samadhi. We all know the word samadhi, like the meditative concentration. Samadhi, where your mind is gathered in, samadhi. The opposite of some is apart. So vyadhi, where you're kind of out of sorts, you're all over the place, not gathered or collected. And that was the way of expressing one of the words. There are various other words for expressing illness. Roga is another. But vyadhi, meaning kind of when you're, as it were, being put apart, scattered, everything is not kind of fitting together properly.
As in sort out of sorts.
I was about to say that exact thing. I thought, hang on, shall I kind of throw that in? I'm glad you did. So out of sorts, just scattered about, unsamadhified.
Professor, can I ask something?
Yes, please do.
So the words imprisonment and what was the other one at the end of the translation? Imprisonment and beatings. Do they refer to mental imprisonment and when you are facing obstacles or some kind of troubles in your life? Is it what being referred to here?
Actually, that's a good point you've raised there, Mandira. Looking at this line as a whole, my interpretation of it is that Shantidev is telling us don't be too squeamish and act like Paladin's husband. Don't be a little princess about minor things like gnats and flies and a bit of hunger and thirst, or even the dukkha of a major itch. And all of these are clearly physical things. If you look at verse 15, these are physical things, gnats and mosquitoes, flies, and so on. I think my interpretation of it has been that he's continuing this list of physical distresses here. I think he's telling us to kind of, I don't know if you're allowed to say it now, but I will to man up, don't get upset. about these physical distresses.
James, but I hardly think being thrown in prison and getting a damn good thrashing is a trivial thing.
Okay. I've been thrown in prison having a damn good thrashing. I agree, it's not a trivial thing. Sorry, maybe my mind was tripping over itself. So in verse 15, he's saying, well, these things, these discomforts are trivial. Or kimanartam napashisi, why can you not treat these or see these as trivial? Then he's going on to say, presumably once you've mastered the art of treating the discomforts of verse 15 as trivial, now, Saukumaryam nakartavyam, you shouldn't be squeamish either about. Then there's another series of things. Okay, I mean, I certainly agree with you, Chris, that if I was suddenly thrown into prison and beaten up, I would not regard it as trivial. But however, having read this verse of Shantidev, I might even, if I retained my composure of mind, do my best to treat it, not to be a sukumara about it. But okay, I certainly take your point. But back now to Mandira's point, I have interpreted all of these as physical things, and he's encouraging us to, not to be sukumara, not to be little princesses. Thank you very much for that, Paladin. I really do enjoy that. Not to be little princesses about these physical difficulties, just to harden ourselves, to get used to hardship. However, I certainly agree with you, Mandira, that bandhanantara, as in so much else in Buddhist, well, Sanskrit literature and particularly Buddhist literature, will have its physical and its spiritual meaning.
You want a good Derbyshire phrase, James? It would be "don't be mardy." Don't be mardy about it.
Mardy.
Mardy. Don't be mardy. Like don't be peevish and wet about it.
MARDY, would you write?
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually using a compound with a more rude word.
What might that rude word be?
Mardy. Don't be a mardy arse. Don't be mardy arsed about it.
Don't be mardy arsed about it. That's not that rude. Come on. Don't be mardy arsed. Do you know, I hopefully this afternoon, if not this afternoon, within the next week, I'll be seeing at least 2 Derbyshire people. I'm going to try that out on them.
It's Midlands anyway, sort of Midlands, Derbyshire, Staffordshire kind of word. South Derbyshire, Staffordshire, I'd say.
Well, now that I've relatively moved to the northwest of England, I'm trying to build up my vocabulary of these words, get more accepted by.
Like somebody who's just being a bit pathetic. Don't be mardy.
Pathetic and wimpish.
Pathetic and whiny. Stop being
I like that one.
Stop being samadhi about it.
Surely. Did you hear what you said? Stop being so mardy about it. Stop being samadhi about it.
In a Derbyshire accent, it does work like don't be.
Wonderful. So samadhi.
Don't be samadhi about it.
So if you're deep in meditation, you could say, "I don't want to be disturbed. I'm so samadhi asked." So that means well founded, well seated in samadhi. Okay, let's get back to being a little bit serious about
I had a serious question. Could you just say again why it's in the instrumental? Because I think you said in the video the locative would have been a more usual way of doing it.
It would have been if samadhi. Yes, if I were composing this in Sanskrit, I would have put the locative. If you're upset or little princess or have a certain attitude towards something or about something, you typically do find that in the locative. I think that Shantideva would probably have used the locative. In fact, when he first wrote it, he might have put a locative and then gone, I'm ending this line. This line has got too many syllables here. What can I do about that? So if he changes the locative eshu just to instrumental plural I, then that takes us two syllables down to one. But here, I instrumental plural, meaning by, here it can often mean kind of by reason of. So that's how it meant. So by these things, because of these things. For example, you have the instrumental tena, meaning by that. You can have tasmat. So just let me somebody. You can have tasmat, literally from that, and tena, meaning by that, which mean pretty much the same thing for that reason. So here we have the instrumental, meaning by reason of these things. Yeah, I suppose if you want to be a little bit more exact in the translation, if it had been the locative plural, so tadeshu, would mean do not be squeamish about these things. But in the instrumental plural, perhaps more accurate to say do not be squeamish by reason of these things or by reason of these things happening. The meaning ultimately boils down to the same. We could just express it in different ways in English, exactly as in Sanskrit.
James,
Yes,
I think
Roger.
I'm right in saying that sometimes the instrumental is translated as with these things.
Yes, it is. Yeah, but the instrumental with, for example, with or by, meaning using. That's the original instrumental meaning. The instrumentality. We are meeting now by Zoom, which in Sanskrit would be zoomena. You are, if I'm writing with a pen, that the with there would be ena. You do have the preposition. It can be a preposition or a postposition in Sanskrit. You can say saha. It can be used either before or after a noun. With my friend, you say saha mitrena or mitrena saha. Sanskrit will allow both. When you are saying with, meaning in the company of, you tend to use saha with an instrumental. When you say with, meaning using something to help you, you just use the instrumental on its own. For example, somebody is walking with his friend, you say mitrena saha chalati. But if somebody is walking with a stick, in other words, using a stick to help him walk, you just say dandena chalati. You said dandena saha chalati. That would be a little bit absurd. That would suggest that he's walking and his stick is walking along with him. So just the pure instrumentality of the stick, dandena chalati, walking with a stick.
Yeah, I suppose I was just thinking of the English translation here, still in terms of instrumental, but using the word with. But I don't know. With these various things, one should not be too squeamish. But still, that sounds more like accompanied, doesn't it? Yeah.
It sounds more like accompanying.
It does. Forget that, actually.
Yeah. But with these, yeah. I mean, if in the way you put it, they're using with, the English word with, you used it in the sense of by means. No, it wouldn't even be by means of. No, it would be more. No, be. I suppose then there are certain contexts in which you could. Anyway, that's more a matter of English style rather than Sanskrit.
Yeah.
So interesting though that rabbit hole may be, it may be not the use, but I certainly take your point. So here we're being with, meaning by reason of or because of.
Mm.
Yeah, you could say, with all that work, I felt overwhelmed. Again, you could, with all that work, I felt overwhelmed, meaning by reason of having all that work on top of me. And again, the instrumental would be the appropriate way to do it in Sanskrit. So before we move on, are there any more comments or queries on this verse? Yes, please, Mandira.
How is the word Vyadhi formed? I'm asking because it has the same ending as the word Samadhi.
Yes.
Some would be equilibrium, I think, in a state of equilibrium.
So, Samadhi, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Vyadhi. So both are ending in Adi. So I'm not sure. It might have a common origin or something.
They do. I'm so glad you asked that, Mandira. You've got me going on one of my favorite words here. Okay, let me call up. Hang on, let me call up iPad. Here we are. Now we have, oops, the root dha. Dha, of which the primary meaning is to put. In the Indo-European languages, you often find that the meaning of to do and to put are sometimes merged, and they aren't totally distinguished. And that is how this root dha, meaning to put in Sanskrit, actually it's etymologically the same as our modern English word do. It's the same word. The doing has the meaning we know more of making, acting in English, whereas in dha it more has the meaning of putting, though it is etymologically that same word. When this root appears at the end of a compound, it actually becomes di. It's just by a quirk of Sanskrit grammar that it does. So, adha means to put towards, meaning to bring towards, together, adha. Samadha, you can act this one out. Let me pull that camera a little bit down so I can see. Some is the gathering in. Some are dha. The idea of gathering in, bringing towards, and placing. As a verb. As a noun, it is samadhi. Samadhi. You know, the gathering in of the scattered mind, the bringing it towards you, and the placing, samadhi. The prefix vi has the exact opposite meaning. It's the opposite of some. Some is together with, bringing in, joining. Vi is apart, separate. Vigata, gone, gata, gone, vigata, gone away. If somebody's sin or blemish has gone away, he is vigata papa. His papa has gone away from his release from his sin. So vyadhi is the exact opposite of samadhi. And the via becomes, sorry, by sandhi, via. So via. So it's the idea of, instead of gathering in, it's scattering apart. And so Mandira, it is no coincidence that the adi is the same. They're from the same root, samadhi and vi-adi. It's the same adi. This verbal prefix vi, I can't remember whether I've explained it, the force of it. Have I explained it so well that there's anybody here who can repeat the explanation? Actually, it is really forceful. Okay, let me give it to you. I'm going to explain the. So we start explaining the. The word never stands on its own. It's always used as a verbal prefix. Vigata, vivarana, and so on. It started off life as dui. Now, dui, as we know, means two, as in the number two. And we get the dui, and in modern English, we get slight variation in it. We still the dental and the labial. In fact, in Swedish, it's pronounced två. In English, written too, we've lost the pronunciation of the W. We used to say två in older English, but the pronunciation of the W has gone, but we still write it in two. Now, the idea of dvi, then, you put this word dvi in front of something, and the idea was splitting in two. What was joined, splitting in two, dividing, separating. It's the separative prefix. For example, vada, from the root vad, meaning to say, a vada means a saying. Vivada means a dispute, because what you're saying is split. You know, you're saying one thing, I'm saying another thing, we're split in our saying. Vivada. Do you use that word in modern Hindi, Mandira? Vivad, meaning dispute.
We use it, yeah.
Okay, very good. And so you often see in the suttas, you know, he sees the monks arguing each other with each other. He says, you know, katamo vivado, what is the dispute? So that same word, vivada, same Sanskrit and Pali, and I'm happy to hear you still use it in modern Hindi. So a split speaking. So when you see this vi, remember that's the idea of two, a splitting in two, separation, going apart.
Like vipassana.
Like vipassana. Passana, Sanskrit pashyana, seeing. So vipassana, the vi is not, it can have the separative sense, in the sense of you're parting the veil, opening the veil, seeing behind the surface. That is the insight. It's your penetration, a clearing away of the obscuring, the separating and seeing in.
It's also jhana and vijana.
Exactly so. So
the awareness and separate human consciousness.
That's right. So in other words, it's a kind of, that's a good point to raise there, Chris. It's like the discrimination knowledge, not just the bare awareness of something happening, but knowing that you know. It's a kind of a split knowing, knowing that you know. And of course, a huge amount of further discussion can be gone as to what it really means. But let's not get too out of my depth on this. Now, this separative prefix, in Latin, duo. Now, the Latin prefix all of these prefixes, again meaning apart or separately, or creating the opposite stabilize, destabilize, sect, meaning to cut, to dissect, meaning to cut open, to cut apart. These actually come from that same root. So what's happened is, when used as a prefix, Pali and Sanskrit have dropped the dental of the dvi. They dropped the dental but kept the labial, vi. Latin has dropped the labial but kept the dental, the di, dis, di. But they are actually all from that same origin. So, for example, or removing something. There's something just popped into my mind the other day. One of these movies. Oh yes, why hadn't I seen that before? We have the Sanskrit word, Sanskrit and Pali, the same, bala, meaning strength. If your strength is removed in Latin, you are debilis, weak. It's that same, it become a bil in Latin, and in English, debilitate. If something debilitates you, it removes your strength. It weakens you. So how did we get onto all this? Was it the discussion of, was it Mandira saying out of Samadhi and Vyadhi? But I've dwelt at some length on this prefix vi, because it's so common, and sometimes it's just used as an intensive, but mostly, you will see there it has this dynamic sense of separation, going away, splitting one into two. Sometimes in just as a purely physical sense, sometimes in a pejorative, sometimes in a pejorative, sometimes in a very useful sense, as in vijnana, vipassana.
Like discriminate can have a positive or negative sense, can't it?
It can indeed, yes. I mean, that's from the Greek krinein, simply meaning to judge. It actually means to separate one thing from another. So to discriminate means you make a decision about something where you separate one from another, putting things in different categories. And indeed, different would be in older Latin disfero, meaning carrying apart, putting one thing apart from another, differ. Mandira, please.
Now I'm beginning to think that perhaps the word bull in English has come from bala. Is it possible? It's just very far-fetched, I know, but I'm just thinking, because it denotes strength.
It does indeed, yeah.
The word bully.
Yeah, and in fact, in Vrishabha, in Sanskrit, a bull, the bull man, is a very, very strong. I wonder if it could. I mean, some things I had thought, some things I started off thinking, no, that's too far-fetched. And then later I looked more carefully and said, oh, maybe that is right, after all. Let me check that one. Let me just see if I can find out. It would be very nice if it did, wouldn't it? Tulika, did your hand was raised?
Yes, I'm sorry. I missed what does Vyadhi mean in Sanskrit?
Vyadhi, it generally means sickness.
Oh.
The sickness, because samadhi used as a mental term means your mind is gathered together. But with vyadhi, the idea is everything, all the systems and everything that should be operating together in your body to keep you healthy, there's been a vyadhi there. They've been kind of split apart. They aren't functioning together properly.
Because in Gujarati, normally people often say vyadhi nahi kar, which means it's sort of treated as worry, unnecessary worry.
Oh, wonder, yeah, okay, that's great, because now we've got this meaning extended into a mental sense. Now that's really good. So for vyadhi in Gujarati, it means worry.
Yes, it's
Okay.
like when you're kind of stuck in a state of mind.
Okay, that's lovely. You see, this demonstrates the oppositeness of samadhi. You are gathered in, you're peaceful, you're concentrated. In vyadhi, either in body, sickness, or in mind, distressed, worried. I mean, Mandira, would you use the same in Hindi, that meaning in Hindi as well, that Tulika has just mentioned for Gujarati?
No, we don't use this word in Hindi.
Okay, right.
We say chinta mat karo.
I'm sorry.
Chinta.
Oh, chinta. Okay, right.
Don't worry. I mean, the literal translation would be don't worry.
Okay, chintani. Actually, that's really good because even in Pali and Sanskrit, the chinta has exactly that same meaning. It's from the root chit, meaning to think. So chinta would mean kind of mental anxiety and worry. So I'm glad said that's exactly how you're using it in modern Hindi then.
So maybe it comes from chintan or something, or maybe not to overthink about something.
Yeah, in fact, it's from the root chit. With a subroot chint. And you have several cases, very numerous cases, where you have the nasal and sometimes is in the root and sometimes isn't. But treat chit and chint from chit and chitta, the heart, mind, and chinta as effectively from the same root. Okay, well, this has given us some very entertaining etymology here. So, so all of this came out of Vyadhi. And Bandhana, of course, it's the English from Bandh, English to bind. I mean, it's the same word. So, were there any further comments or queries on this one?
So could we regard Vyadhi as the antonym of Samadhi?
I'm inclined to say yes, but with a slight caution. The slight caution being that, I mean, if you look at it purely linguistically, forgetting what specialized meanings have developed around them. So if Tulika, you look at them purely linguistically, you very often find that the verbal prefix some, you could act as bringing towards, gathering in, and vi, apart, have exactly opposite meanings. And therefore, from that point of view, you can say that samadhi and vyadhi are antonyms. In other words, words having exactly opposite meanings. So the answer is, I start off by saying yes, but then expressing the slight caution that they have come to mean, but by usage, they have come to have specialist meanings or specialized meanings. So samadhi, particularly, I think among the Hindus would use samadhi as well. I think that's right. I mean, is that right, Mandira and Tulika? That it's not peculiar to Buddhism, a state of concentrated mind. Both the Hindu and the Buddhist would talk about samadhi. So it's come to have a specialized meaning there. It's a particular state of mental gathering in. So the only reason it's not then a direct antonym to vyadhi is simply because by usage, that word has been chosen to express that meaning. But otherwise, Tulika, you are right. They started life as antonyms and developed their own specialized meanings, not too far apart from each other, but nevertheless their own specialized meanings as life went on, as time went on.
It's just that, I mean, thinking broadly about it, it just seems like it would be wonderful if we could think of them that way, because it's like order, samadhi, and then disorder, and how that reflects in sort of mental and physical states. So you kind of know whether you're going towards the right one or the wrong one, in a way. So.
The more you say that, Tulika, the more I'm inclined to say yes, because samadhi took on the specialized meaning. But you just go one step back. Why was that word chosen to describe that state of mind? Because it is the gathering in, the quietness, the harmony, everything's there in the right place. And therefore that word, that very expressive word, was chosen to express that state. And coming back to Tulika's point there, the exact opposite, the vyadhi, either physically something has gone wrong, like a putting apart of what should be harmoniously acting together, have both its physical and its mental state. Now, going right back to the primitive meanings of those words, I think I'm coming down on your side, Tulika. They are antonyms, and they are expressing states of mental and physical harmony, or mental and physical split apart, gone wrong, either illness, physical illness, mental worry. Not that you can really distinguish between the two, but there it is. And these are wonderful examples of just the power of how words are built in Sanskrit, from the simple root meaning to put, then with these putting together these two prefixes, sama or via, just so you can just feel the strength of that word. You just feel the meaning of it.
Just thinking the other way around, do you think for the original practitioners, samadhi would have also carried that sense of wellness and being in a good state, physically as well as mentally?
I'm pretty sure they would, because we know how well they go together. I mean, well, Roger, does medical science still support that the people who regularly meditate need a lot less medical treatment statistically on average? I remember reading that a while ago.
Yeah, but briefly, yes. I mean, there is all this evidence. In fact, I was reading a paper only yesterday about people are researching, jhana states using MRI and EEG, and not only wellness and joy, but even like they can be transformative, as we know. So there's a lot of research into this, and
right.
Some of it's very good now.
There's certainly a lot of interest in mindfulness, isn't there? This idea of mindfulness, which is
That's been around a long time.
Yeah.
But I think now they're looking at deeper, more profound states, as in jhana.
Yeah.
That's where current research seems to be homing in on. Because the mindfulness thing has been around for a long time.
Yeah, the retreat I was on a few weeks ago, we had a couple of researchers there, sticking these little electrodes around people's heads and measuring. I don't know if you've come across him, Paul Dennison, Jhana Consciousness.
I've got his book. Yeah, I've got his book. It's very good. Yeah.
Okay, right. It is very good indeed. He's an old chum of mine from Cambridge back in the 1960s.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, jolly good. So the strands are coming together now, samadhi, vyadhi. Maybe we are wrong to separate. Well, more and more we're seeing we're wrong to separate body and mind. So yeah, it's both. It embraces them all. I hadn't really spotted that with Vyadi before, but yeah, I'm really glad that this point has been raised. Hopefully, it's been useful for everyone. Okay, then. Any more before we go on? We've got a few minutes left to plunge into the next verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Before we leave this verse, is there anybody who wanted to have a go at reciting or chanting before we go on to the Bhagavad Gita? Okay.
We could try it together.
So was that you? Was that Renata saying that?
Sorry, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm working out my laptop at the moment. Here we go.
Okay.
Can you see me? Yeah.
Ah, yes, here we are. Very
Sorry.
good. Now,
Let's try if everyone else has a go.
Okay, well, sorry, you'll try if everyone else has a. Do you mean?
I'd be happy to try it with other people.
The only problem
Together.
is with Zoom. With Zoom, we're getting delays of a couple of seconds. In fact, I can see on my screen
Cut off.
it's a delay of about a second or
Sorry,
a
I think we
second.
got cut off. Sorry.
Okay, I'm just moving my finger now. There's a delay of half a second for me between me moving my hand and seeing my hand on. So I think it would be a bit of a cacophony there if we all tried. That's why if on chanting groups only one person do it. Lovely idea, but I can see it's not going to work because we've got these different time lags on Zoom. However, Renata, don't let that stop you doing it on your own. Do you feel inclined to? Okay, what you could do, listen to Mandira doing it, because Mandira does it beautifully, reading off the Devanagari in an authentic accent of the land of the Buddha. Okay, Mandira.
Thank you. शीतोष्ण वृष्टि वाताध्व व्याधि बंधन ताड़ैः सौकुमार्यं न कर्तव्यम् अन्यथा वर्धते व्यथा.
Okay, wonderful. Do you think you can copy that one, Renata?
With difficulty.
Okay. Actually, one thing, people say, oh, I've got to get it right, I've got to get it right. But it very, very often happens that if somebody stumbles and then why they've stumbled can be very useful for the rest of the group to see why. Go on, Ron. Actually, we generally have a rule that I never force anyone to do it. So so if you don't feel like it, there's no obligation to at all.
Are you
Okay,
waiting for me?
Yeah, okay, well, we're not so much waiting, kind of. It's like a pause, waiting to see whether anything would fill that pause. And if you wish to come in to fill that silence, Renata, you will be very welcome indeed.
I think I feel a bit shy.
Okay, not worry at all. Let me select somebody who's not looking very shy. Dominique, you aren't looking shy. Would you like to try?
All right. Shitoshna vrishtivadadva vyadhi bandhanatarehi saukumartyam nakartavyam anyatha bardate vyatha.
Now we know why Dominique wasn't looking shy. That was lovely, Dominique. That was the real cadence of the chant.
It's good to have Mandira just before. Thank you.
Right. Can you just do it again? How did you pronounce the for example, kartavyam? I thought I detected a slight hint of a French accent there. Did you say something like cartavium?
Kartavyam.
Cartavium is better. Yeah. Did I detect a slight hint of French there?
Yes, you did.
Cartavium.
I'm quite offended.
Yeah. Cartavium. Very good. Otherwise, very authentically Indian sounding to my ear. How did it sound to you, Mandira?
Splendid.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
And how did it to Sri Nimala, how did it sound to your Sinhala speaking Sri Lankan ear?
It's very nice. It's very good.
Okay, you seem to have approval from the native speakers
Yeah, she
of the
sang very
relevant
nice.
of the
Yeah.
the sister languages, we could call them, or the daughter languages.
Yeah.
Okay, then, before we move on, anyone else can move in and have a go?
Shall I have a go?
Please do, Maria Elena, please do.
Okay. I'm very rusty, so I don't know. Okay.
Come in anyway. We will help you clean off the rust.
Lovely. Sitoshna vristi vatadva vyadi bandhana tadai saukumaryam nakartavyam anyatha vardate vyata.
Well, that was pretty good. That didn't sound too rusty, Maria Lynn. That sounded very, very nice indeed. Mm.
Thank
you.
Right. So before we move on, I need to have. Come on, let's have another. Chris, you always like being asked, don't you? I mean, you don't push yourself forwards, but in you come, Chris. Come on. You've been slogging on, man, for the last two years and more. Carry on.
Well, as someone once said to me, this is likely to sound like the dust cart following the Lord Mayor's parade, but here we go. Right. Hishtuna vrishti tata dyava vyadi bandana tadatai.
Tardai. Yeah. Mm.
Sukumaryam.
Sorry, how did Sukumaryam Nakartavyam?
Yes, Sukumaryam Nakartavyam. Anyata Vadyate Vyata.
Okay. Two things there, Chris. You put in a superfluous year, it's vardha. You said vardhya, vardhate.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, in this word, you pronounce the first syllable not as sau, but as su. The origin of the word is sukumara. So kumara originally meant a young man, and then by extension, a young man of noble birth, and therefore a prince. And if you put the prefix su in front of it, sukumara, that often has a kind of slightly sarcastic meaning. The one that Paladins had to leave us now, but one Paladin, the little, oh, you little prince, oh, you little diddums, you pathetic little sukumara. And the Buddha himself, I forget which sutra it was in, said, oh, in my youth, I was a sukumara. It's like a pampered little rich kid is the kind of it. That's sukumara. Now, you can make an abstract noun out of it by applying vriddhi to the first syllable. That su becomes sau, and the final a changed to ya. So sukumara, and then saukumarya.
Yeah.
So saukumarya would mean the quality or state of being a Sukumara. You have it, this abstract nouns are quite frequently formed in this way and fairly regularly in Sanskrit. You have Maha, meaning great, as we know. And Atma, often translated as the soul, but a very wider meaning of the Buddhist doctrine of Anatma, which in Pali, Anatta. So Maha-Atma. So combine these by Sandhi, you get Mahatma, literally great-souled. And it was the title, for example, widely applied to Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhi, the great-souled Gandhi. Now, let us make that into an abstract noun, meaning great-souledness, the quality or characteristic of having a great soul. What do? Take the first syllable and apply vriddhi. It becomes ma. Now the final a, just drop off the final vowel and put ya instead. So from Mahatma, we now have Mahatmya. The Mahatmya, remember the vriddhi, the long initial a, is the abstract noun, meaning great souledness, the quality or state of having a Mahatma, of having a great soul. Incidentally, the compound Mahatma becoming Mahatma is actually a Bahuvrihi compound, means he whose soul is great. Doesn't just mean great, so it can mean two things. It'd be a Karmadharya compound, just great soul, a soul that is great, or having he whose soul is great. As a matter of Sanskrit grammar, it could be either Bahuvrihi compound or Karmadharya compound.
Mm. Yeah, it's at the end of the day, James, I think it's all about practice, isn't it? And I haven't been. So there you go.
It is all about practice. As they say in German, Übung macht den Meister. Literally, practice makes the master.
Oh, yeah,
which also in English we have as practice makes perfect. Okay, we're just a minute away from 3. So what we'll do next time round then, I'll just take any questions or comments about this verse that we've just finished. And then we didn't make it this time round, but then we'll proceed to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 43, verse 1. Okay, that's about it then. So thank you all very much for being with me, for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so see you all in a week's time, hopefully. Okay, thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.